Hello, students of Senior 3 Biology class. I'm Scovia, your biology teacher as always. Welcome for today's lesson. So we are going to study Unit 4, which is the effects of human activities on ecosystem 1. It's just a continuation of the previous lesson, all right? A continuation of the previous lesson. So in the previous lesson, we looked at ecosystem, and we said, what did we say on ecosystem? We said ecosystem are plants or organisms in a community and how they interact with the environment, all right? So still we're going to look at the effect of human activities. I always tell you when you see ecosystem 1, remember there is ecosystem 2. In ecosystem 1, we emphasize on the negative effects. In Unit 4, we emphasize on the negative effect of human activity on ecosystem. Remember, there are also positive effects. So whenever you see 1, it means we're emphasizing on the negative effects. So it is a continuation of the previous lesson. As you can see, we are now on your lesson 3, which is pollution, all right? So we're going to look at pollution. And under this, we have some objectives. Have the objective of our today's lesson, all right? Today's lesson, we shall look at the sources and effects of both air and water pollution, all right? The effect and sources of air and water pollution. On water, here we shall emphasize on insecticides and herbicides. So what are insecticides? What are herbicides? The herbicides and the insects, when we talk of the insects, these are chemicals that we use to spray and kill insects. And herbicides, these are chemicals that we spray to kill herbs or those unwanted weeds in our crops specifically. All right? So we are going to look at their effect. All right? And we are going to see what are the sources of water and air pollution. All right? We can go on. Now, what is pollution? Who can try to define pollution? I think it is not the first time to see this word. Pollution. You have seen pollution in chemistry. You have seen pollution in biology in other classes. So what is pollution? All right? Pollution is the addition of substances or energy forms to an environment in quantities that are harmful to organisms and destructive to an ecosystem. All right? Addition of harmful substances to organisms, and at the end, they destruct. Remember everything when it's too much. It ends up when it is harmful, all right? So you may pretend or you may think that I'm going to kill insects that are disturbing me. I'm going to kill herbs or to those weeds in our crops. And at the end of the day, it will have a side effect, another effect. We will save this, but there is another effect as we're going to see. So pollution is the introduction or the addition of substances which are very harmful to organisms, and at the end, they destruct the ecosystem. So the substance that are polluted or the substance that cause pollution, we call them pollutants. So in case you are asked what are pollutants, pollutants are those substances that cause pollution. So the exact chemicals, the exact substance that we release, and at the end they lead to pollution, we name them or we call them pollutants. That is a very important word in our lesson today. The pollutants are substances that cause pollution, all right? There are not only chemicals. We are going to see different kinds of pollutants. One, they range from toxic chemicals, have noise, just noise. In case we are here in our class here, remember we have a next class and the other class, the other side. So in case we make noise, a lot of noise here, we are polluting the environment. We are disturbing the neighbors, all right? That's why always we try to tell you to keep quiet in class. Why? You can lead to noise pollution. So talking is not bad, but talking at a high level, you're polluting the environment. It is too much noise, all right? So that is also a pollutant, noise. So we have factories around. Like your home, if your home is near a certain factory, you will not get peace. To people who live nearby the airport, whenever there are kids, when the airplane passes, the kid just jumps. What does it mean? There's that noisy pollution. So vehicles that moves up and down when you live near the road, they also lead to noisy pollution. Untreated sewages from homes. What are sewages? Sewages, those are dirty water containing salt things, containing that kind of chemicals, that is a sewage. So when they are not treated and powered in water bodies, it means they will affect the aquatic organism. They will pollute water. Organism that lives in water will be affected. Fertilizers from farms. So there is these chemicals, those NPK and whatever, those fertilizers that we apply on the land or on a farm. So those ones, when happen to be soil erosion, when happen to be this a lot of rain, it will wash away those fertilizers that you applied. If there is a nearby lake, they will accumulate in the lake, and you find that those organisms in the lake will be affected. How? They can be affected in one way or the other. One, they can be killed by those chemicals, or those chemicals or those fertilizers, they may leach in the water bodies, and they will lead to unwanted other plants to grow, too much of the plant to grow on the water bank, and even the water, all right? So when they grow, there's what we call autotrophication. There will be too much plants that will grow around, and those plants that will go around will compete with aquatic animals for oxygen, for light, and even for other things that are very essential for those aquatic organisms, all right? So that is also a disadvantage of these fertilizers, whereby they will affect the water bodies, as we're going to continue saying this. The nuclear plants, these ones increase the temperature, all right? So the nuclear bombs, when there are nuclear bombs, you find that they are released in the atmosphere, or they are released in the environment, the temperature increases, all right? So among others. So pollutants are released into the environment as a result of human activities. All that we have been seeing, the fertilizers, the noise, the chemicals, this nuclear whatever, they're all released in the environment by human beings, by man's activities. There are not themselves that does it. It's the human activity that leads to that. All right? So pollution affects air, water, soil, which are habitats of a variety of organisms. All right? So we start with air pollution. As we said, we are going to look at air pollution and water pollution. We start by looking at air pollution. What is air pollution? As we said, that pollution is the release of harmful substance. Therefore, air pollution is the addition of waste substance into the air. Harmful substance. When you release dangerous substance in the atmosphere, you are polluting air, all right? That is pollution of air. So what are some of the causes of air pollution? Who can try to tell us some of the causes of air pollution? I'd mentioned the few. Yes, the factories, you are right. So the factories, they will release gas in the atmosphere, harmful gas, like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide. All of those are very dangerous to the atmosphere. We are going to see how. So smoke, due to smoke produced from industries, we have burning fuels, oil, petroleum and wood, all of those lead to air pollution because they also produce carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. The motor vehicles. Motor vehicles also lead to release of those unburnt or exit those fumes and carbon monoxide in the atmosphere, and nitrogen oxide and other hydrocarbon compounds, which are very dangerous, as we're going to see from there. All right, shoot from burning of fuel, especially in cooking. So you see, the government of Rwanda is sensitizing on using gas instead of using the firewood for cooking. The firewood were also very dangerous because they could bring soot, all right, which is dangerous, as we're going to see. The use of aerosols. These are liquid substances put in cans under high pressure so as to release them as spray. For example, the pesticides. So the pesticides, those are substances that are used to kill pests. What are pests? The pests, those are animals that feed on our crops. So you happen to kill them by using the pesticides. At the end, the pesticides are released in the atmosphere and they will affect or they will lead to air pollution. All right? Now look at that as the effect of air pollution. I talked of carbon monoxide. Look at the diagram there on the screen. Look on the diagram on the screen there. All right? We're seeing the green plants there. Not so? We're seeing the green plants. We're seeing the water bodies there. We're seeing some housing there. We're seeing some trees there. All right? At first, it was very okay like here. All right? Now, at the end, when they happened to release carbon monoxide, to release carbon dioxide, to release nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere from industries, from vehicles, these old vehicles, from cooking of those, burning of those soot, from different fuels that are burnt, they release those, we call them greenhouse gases, all right? When they were released in the atmosphere, for example, the sulfur dioxide, see this is the factory. Look on the screen there. You see there is this factory here. It has released what we call, this is sulfur dioxide. And sulfur dioxide is also among the greenhouse gases. It is here, sulfur dioxide. Now, as sulfur dioxide is released from the factories, it goes in the atmosphere. This is atmosphere, all right? It meets with clouds where we find the water droplets. So as water droplets combines with sulfur dioxide, they come back on as rain, but it is now not this good rain we always receive. It is what we call acidic rain. All right? Can be sulfur dioxide, can be carbon monoxide. All of that leads to acidic rain. Now, this acidic rain, when it hits the plants, you see those plants? Formerly, they are very okay. All right? Check here. Sorry? Formerly, they were very green and very okay before this acidic rain came in. But as the acidic rain started hitting them, you see how they have started drying? This is acidic rain from the clouds, from the atmosphere, trying to hit these plants which were very nice at first. And now they have started drying down. That is the effect of those acidic rain, the effect of acidic rain that was brought as a result of air pollution. So it is the effect of air pollution. Go to these houses here. These houses, in case they are made of marble trees, they fall down due to acidic rain. Now look at these fish. They are now dead on shores. You see, on the shores of the lake. They are dead. Why? Because of the acidic rain. When this acidic rain rains in the lake or in the water bodies, you find that all the aquatic animals, animals that live in water, we are taking an example of the fish here, which are dead, all right? Will come and hit on the fish, or will come and change the acidity of water. What is the acidity? When we talk of the acidity, that is, I mean the pH of the water. So when the pH of the water turns, that is the acidity of water raises, these animals, or these aquatic animals, including the fish, will be affected and eventually die. Therefore, air pollution at the end will come and affect the whole system or the whole ecosystem, all right? So that is the effect of air pollution, all right? So how can we prevent air pollution? After seeing the effect of air pollution, the bad effects of air pollution, since it leads to death of organisms and plants, so how can we prevent it? How can we try to minimize it? Though it cannot be completed 100%, the government is always trying its best to see that it can calm down the situation, but at least something can be done, all right? Something can be done. So what can we do specifically to deal with this acidic rain? How can we prevent the acidic rain, as we have seen the dangers of acidic rain? One, the factories that produce these gases, these harmful gases, they need to be fitted with chemicals called acid scrubbers that absorb acidic gases from fumes before they are released into the atmosphere. So the factories, as we have seen, that these factories are the ones that releases these harmful substances, like the sulfur dioxide, this sulfur dioxide here. We have seen the factory releasing sulfur dioxide, which has led to the death of all of these animals and plants, all right? So what does the government say? The government says these factories, they are supposed to be fitted with what we call acidic scrubbers that will absorb the fumes, these fumes, those chemical dangerous gases from the fumes before they are emitted to the atmosphere, all right? Hope that is very clear. So the factories need to be fitted with those acid scrubbers that will absorb those chemicals, those dangerous gases before the fumes are released to the atmosphere. That's one thing that we can do, all right? Another thing we can do is that cars, you see, we talked of the old cars that emit these dangerous substances, these dangerous gases, the sulfur dioxide, the nitrogen dioxide. So they can also be fitted with what we call catalytic converters. What will it help? The catalytic converters will clean up their exhaust gases, all right? So the catalytic converters will go and clean the exhaust gases, and you find that these gases are not emitted when in the fumes or in the atmosphere, in the smoke, and acidic rain at least will be reduced. So the government is trying its best to see on how we can reduce the emission of these substances or these gases, the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, by at least trying to do some of those things we have talked about. The factories, the cars, that the gases they emit should be at least clean. All right? Good. Now, there is this enhanced greenhouse effect and the climate change. So as we have been talking about the greenhouse gases that are emitted in the atmosphere, when they go in the atmosphere, we get this, look at the diagram there. Normally, we get the solar radiation, right? Radiation from the sun. It comes and hits the earth. That is very okay. It has no effect. All right? Now, in a case there is what we call the destruction of the ozone layer. The destruction of the what? The ozone layer. See? the solar radiation reflected by the atmosphere. There's a greenhouse gas remit terrestrial radiation back surface. All right? So these greenhouse gases can be remitted. What the word remit means. If there is global warming and these greenhouse gases goes, they will come and hit back the atmosphere, remit the terrestrial, or they will remit back on the Earth's surface. So what does it mean? In case the greenhouse are released in the atmosphere, as I was saying, when the greenhouse gases are released in the atmosphere, they can be radiated, they can be brought back on the Earth's surface, and you find that the temperature on the Earth's surface is very high. You get that? When the temperature is very high on the that's why, in fact, the government is trying to tell you, please try to plant more trees. Try to plant more trees. The NEMA, that's the National Environment Management Authority, is trying to emphasize that. You try to plant many trees. Why? So that those trees will try to absorb at least the carbon dioxide that is released as a dangerous gas, among the dangerous gas, and use it for photosynthesis. Because when those gases are emitted, they can be radiated, they can be brought back, and they are very dangerous. They can be remitted, right? They can be remitted, they can be brought back on the Earth's surface. All right? When they are brought back on the Earth's surface, you find that the temperature here is very high, and at the end of the day, we are affected by that. One, desert, all right? And remember, these radiations are very dangerous. Mainly the ultraviolet rays, they are very dangerous that they may lead to skin cancer. All right? So that's why the government is trying its means to prevent this greenhouse gases emission, because they will lead to greenhouse effect, global warming at the end of the day, and you find that the whole country or the whole world is in danger. So this is not a case of one country. You always have the congregations or the meetings sitting now and there from different countries, gathering different countries to work upon this. But the major solution is to plant trees. That's the big issue. That's the major solution, all right? So when you plant trees, at least the trees will try to do what? To absorb the harmful substances, the harmful gases, like the carbon dioxide, and use it for photosynthesis. All right? Good. So I hope air pollution is very clear. Since we said in our objective that we're going also to look at water pollution. What is water pollution? Water pollution is the addition of harmful substances into water. These substances include toxic metals, pesticides, runoff fertilizers. The substance may kill organisms in water. All right? So pollution is what? Water pollution is what? It is the addition of harmful substances, all right, in water bodies. And these substances, we mentioned toxic metals, pesticides, and even fertilizers, as I had talked about before. Eventually, the aquatic organisms that live in water will die due to those harmful substances that are introduced in what? In the water bodies. Is it clear to everybody? Good. Now, look on the screen there, how we can contaminate the water. How ourselves, human, as we are looking at the effect of human activities, that is none but the human. That one is a liver. You see? Look at now how it is. Look at all those rubbishes there. They are brought in by what? Those solid plastic waste in the liver. It's not the dog, it's not the cow, it's not the what, it's the human's activity. It was a very clean liver, but look, what does that? It's man. It's a human activity. You wash your clothes, all the clothes, use the bottles, everything just thrown in. Those that live nearby that liver, they just throw all the clothes, you can see, These ones here, these are all the clothes. Look on the screen. These are what? These are all the clothes. Use the bottles, they are there. You see, all of this is done by man, trying to pollute the water, all right? So please, if you live near the water bodies, don't throw all those solid particles or those solid plastics in water. You are just doing what we call water pollution. That is another case, what we call releasing effluent from factory to the lake. So some factories you find which are constructed near the lakes, they release their waste, the sewages in the water bodies, and in the end, these aquatic organisms are done what? Are affected, you can see. The pipes releasing dangerous waste, the sewages in the water bodies, all right? So this is also this is polluting water by the factories. So causes and effects of water pollution. One, waste and sewage from homes. Waste that we use at home, the sewage water powered in factories, in water bodies, destroy the aquatic animal. Industrial waste also lead to water pollution. Agriculture practices, those are fertilizers, those are pesticides, herbicides. When spilled in water, they lead to water pollution. Oil spills from garages. You clean your vehicle, but remember nearby river will be contaminated by that oil, which will be washed by the water bodies or soil erosion into the river. Then you find the water is what? Is contaminated. Therefore, from there, we can emphasize that everybody among you here, you should sit down and see what exactly causes water pollution and air pollution in your areas, and you try to at least sensitize the environment. You do your part on how to prevent water pollution and air pollution. Thank you so much for today's lesson. You have a good day. Bye.